What did the weird kid in your school do that you'll never forget? Rachel. She wore glasses, had short hair and dyed it orange or yellow, and was super into anime. She wore some type of animal tail all through high school. During class, PE, and when she wasn't in class she wore animal ears. I had science with her and asked her about her tail and she hissed at me. I'm 24 now. I ran into her last year in a supermarket. No more animal tail or ears, still had really short and weirdly dyed hair. Sorry to disappoint, she did not turn out hot, unless you're into that sort of thing I guess. There was one kid, Brian, and he was 100% convinced that he was a dinosaur. Every recess he would frolic around, with his arms up at his chest like a T-Rex, growling at people. He talked normally sometimes too, but every conversation would somehow lead back to dinosaurs. Fun kid. I went to private school and the weird kid in our grade spent every morning before class and every afternoon after class teaching the two parrots in our lobby to say wanna get high. Yes, we had parrots in our lobby. After about 2 weeks, every time you walked past their cage, you could hear them ask, wanna get high? He once went into a berserker nerd rage in grade 3 or 4. He jumped on another unpopular kid and started trying to rip the guy's ear off. A ton of other kids tried to stop him but he just batted them all away. He eventually bit into the kid's back and bite off a chunk of skin. It was pretty messed up. The kid wasn't exactly weird but rather misunderstood. Nonetheless, we were sitting in health class and the teacher is lecturing about how having multiple sexual partners gives you a high risk of contracting STDs. This popular kid decided to make funny a remark saying, well, I have multiple partners. So the weird kid goes, yay, your right hand and your left hand. It was audible enough for a lot of the class to hear and I gave him a lot of respect. Even the teacher chuckled. He poked his bully in the eye, sending the bully to the hospital with permanent eye damage. The bully kept getting in his face, daring him to hit him, so he kind of deserved it. Don't mess with the weird kid. Of all the things he could have done, he chose for the simplest and most damaging thing. I'm quite proud of this kid's thinking abilities in panic situations. He sat down in a chair with me. It was a small chair. I was in a bad mood that day and he saw that. I think he could relate. This kid was constantly mad or sad. He would scream until his ears went red and bang his head on the wall. He was also creepy when it came to a girl he liked and would stalk her. He liked being the creepy one though, but that day I was just so sad. My home life was bad and my friends were being jerks. He sat with me to watch a movie and just smiled at me. He was nice to me. A few times after that he would help me with my bags, and when it was our last day as a class together he hugged me when I was crying and said he understood. I know it's not the story you're looking for, but it's the one I have. He used to go into the bathroom, get completely naked, and then proceed to wrap himself in toilet paper and walk around like a mummy. We used to get these little packs of cheese at lunch. A girl in my class used to put them in the foot of her tights during physical education so it would get warm. Then after PE class she would smush the footy cheese into paste, rip a small hole in the corner and squeeze it into her mouth. This kid believed that dragons were real and basically dedicated his life to finding them. High school. This guy is always dressed like a cowboy, with hat, boots, jacket and even a belt with 2 prop revolvers and boots with spurs, which he got in trouble for a few times he had it. One memorable day was when he brought a stuffed horse head toys with a long stick attached to them and ran around the school hallways with it yelling hee-haw and twirling an imaginary cowboy whip. Senior year this dude even found a cowboy club in our school. A month later, we had 4 of these cowboys hee-hawing through the hallways riding their horsehead sticks. There is always one boy in elementary school who everyone is convinced is a girl for some reason. In my school, it was Paul, a Jehovah's Witness, who pulled down his pants in class in 2nd grade to silence the skeptical. Farting while the teacher was speaking. It wasn't a small fart. It was a big as one. As if he had eaten 20 kilograms of onions. The teacher continued to teach right after the shock. But I will never forget his face. And never his fart. It was terrible, just terrible. Picked her nose with her tongue, like a cow. She would just sit there in class, tongue fishing around in nostrils, oblivious to anyone looking. He gave me a present at Christmas, and I will never forget it. He was a big slow kid named Raymond. He was weird, smelled kind of funny, and had a gruff voice. Did a lot of weird things in class. He had a really hard time making friends, I think, for obvious reasons. This was 6th grade, and there was a lot of snickering. I don't think his family had much money. I thought he was kind though, and I tried to be nice to him as I didn't have many friends either. One day out of the blue he asks me if I liked cars. I told him I did. A few days later he gives me a wad of wrapping paper and tape and tells me Merry Christmas. Inside were 2 Matchbox cars. They were not new cars, or even in the box. I could tell they were once his own toys. There was a little note that said, "Hope you like these. Your friend, Ray." It was really very touching and such a nice gesture. I wish I had thought to bring something for him. I had probably only spoken to him a handful of times, ever, but apparently that was more than anyone else cared to. I think those beat up little toy cars were the best gift anyone has ever given me. Sneezed and pulled out a large red snot. Everyone watched as it seemed to never end. His arm stretched out until it was no longer bent, and the snot was still running from his nose to his hand. It then proceeded to fling out of his nose and across the classroom onto a desk. One kid threw up. Okay, I got the perfect story for this. I went to little Swedish primary school, and at about age 9 to 10, a Danish kid joined our class for 1 year. This guy has a lot of stories centered around him, but the one I remember in particular was during music class one time. Yeah, for some reason we had a music class where we just stood as a choir and sang random songs the teacher played on the piano. For some reason the Dane was really mad this particular day. He did not want to sing at all. He was fist fighting the teachers, literally throwing chairs at them and screaming what I imagine to be the most vulgar Danish curse words. Meanwhile, me and the rest of my class is singing some cute child's song. I always imagine us being in a movie with the Dane in the main role. He is fighting in super slow-mo and all you can hear is the choir of kids kindly singing sad song. There was also the Chinese guy who peed on the floor in gym class because he was too scared to ask if he could go to the bathroom, but the Dane was the most memorable guy. Well, I was the weird kid in my graduating class, as I was the only nerd or geek out of the bunch. What I did to the bully group from my graduating class is something I'll never forget. I intimidated them to the point of flinching as graduation got closer. I didn't speak with them, didn't touch them or do anything to them. I would just, starting 6 months before graduation, smile when I saw them. This got to them over time, and from speaking to some neutrals I learned that they started thinking that I was going to do something to them. To get back at them for being picked on for years. Seeing them flinch when I'd smile at them was enough, especially when I walked over to them at graduation and said hello. This being me coming up behind them. Never seen them jump from a standstill so high before. There were many weird kids across my school life, but this came to mind first. There was this one weird kid in my primary school who, on his last day, insisted on doing what he called the chicken dance, not the actual chicken dance at all, in front of the whole class. This act involved him derping around in a circle at tremendous speed, all the while flipping his shirt up and down over his head, exposing his gross, blindingly white little boy chest, to a dramatic composition containing crashing wave sound effects. You know those weird wooden shoe things that the main characters in hitty animes wear? The ones that are flat on the top, save a strap to put feet in, and have 2 wooden bars on the bottom. Awkward, overweight kid brought those to high school and wore them. Not even on Halloween or whatever either. Just a random day. You could hear this boy walking from across the school. Sometimes I'm jealous of how these people just don't care what others think. Sophomore year of high school, I came in on the day before Christmas break dressed fully as Santa. I gave my chemistry teacher a yogurt, but no spoon because she wasn't good enough and didn't deserve it. One kid in my class said, "Santa, why are you wearing sneakers?" To which I replied, "Santa has gym today." And from 9th to 11th grade during the last 2 weeks of school I would walk around with a different wrestler's theme music and act like them. By 11th grade people started lining up in the hallway waiting for me to make my entrance. I would wear a shirt of the wrestler, play their music, and act like them. For Kurt Angle I wore a fake gold medal, for Triple H I would spit a bottle of water, etc. One girl gave me her brother's Mankind mask for the day I did Mick Foley. On the last 2 days of school junior year I even came up with a whole wrestling angle. I came in as Shawn Michaels on the second to last day and said I was going to give the people what they wanted, 2 days of the Heartbreak Kid. But then someone hit me in the back with a textbook. I changed and came back out as Vince McMahon and said the card is subject to change. I'll have a replacement for tomorrow. Then the last day of school I came as Bret Hart, with the Bret Hart shades and a little Canadian flag. What did the weird kid in your school do? Leave it in the comments below.